Time for some Type 40 Extra, Type 40, our video exclusive content with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, and her starry-eyed girl, Sarah Graham. Hello, Sarah. Good to see you again.
Hello, here we are again.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the last one did quite well, so...
yeah, people seem to like hearing us ramble on at one another.
So we're back.
Whatever springs to mind. We are indeed. And whilst I remember, it's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was something that you mentioned at the tail end of the last show when we were last speaking. So you've been to B&M Bargains. Do you remember what you picked up? What you showed me?
My new bird feeder. Yes. Have you got one?
How's it? Well, I was going to ask firstly, how's it hanging? Is it in place?
Can you ask a lady that question?
I think I just did.
Where's it? Well, it's still indoors. It hasn't been put up yet, so there's been a bit of a delay. But yes, as soon as it is up and running, I will be giving updates. But yeah, my neighbours just bought this massive bird feeder, like this freestanding, looks like a fountain. So yeah, I think so. We seem to be having like a bird feeder like competition now about who's got the best.
Is it one. Like they used to have with the Christmas lights like 15, 20 years ago? That was a big thing.
So this could be an ongoing saga. So watch this space.
When you said I'll give you updates, I thought she's going to train a webcam on it 24/7, like a feed, like from the Big Brother house. Big Birder.
Big Birder. I can just see the thumbnail now.
Well, we're responsible, I think, for one other sale, or we could be, because we were sent this picture, Sarah. I don't think you'll have seen this, but check it out. This was posted, and we were tagged in it over on X. And doesn't it look splendid? So
it does look splendid.
Is the tray part of it as well? Because I didn't see that.
Yes, it is. Yes, yeah, it's all one thing. Yeah, clearly I've started something.
Could be.
It's just going to be masses of TARDIS bird feeders all around the UK.
I like this because I got a closer look at it myself. Because I haven't got one of these, but I think I'm going to have to go and get one. There's loads of B&Ms round by me, so I just wanted to thank you to one of the punters. That was Dave _2E Dave, replying to Type 40 Doctor Who over on X. Snap.
Oh,
he
that's
said,
amazing.
All the best. And
brilliant, Dave. Yeah, give us updates, Dave. Let's see what we can do.
We want to know where you hang it and what it attracts in the nicest possible way. How you
get on with it. That could be quite dodgy if that's what you post on Twitter, X. Yeah, you might get some interesting replies.
He did double it up with a screenshot of you and I there. Yes. You waving your bird feeder around. So yeah, thank you, Dave. And I did reply, and I have tagged B&M in there. So who knows? We may get a couple of freebies or a sponsorship of some.
We can try.
It's knowing where to hang something like that in the garden as well too. I think you could get I can see why people get quite into it and quite obsessed with it after a little while. Yeah. If there's a competitive quality, it's even worse.
There is. And my garden, we're back onto the woods, so we get loads of creatures and birds. So I can see this being a real competition. But then obviously there's cats in the neighborhood. I've got a cat, so I've got to try and position it where Tipsy isn't going to be able to, get a snack. I feel quite guilty. I want to feed the birds. I want to help out, attract wildlife. But I don't want to put on a all-you-can-eat buffet for my cat either. I really didn't expect to spend this long talking about a bird.
Well, it's very much that time of year. I mean, obviously, we're just coming out of what I reluctantly have to admit was probably a heat wave. All that really blisteringly hot weather that we had for a good 5-6 day stretch. People overseas, I don't know if you've had this, people overseas are telling me, our friends in the States or Australia, you call that hot, looking at our temperatures and watching us sort of all squirm and complain about it, and then sort of tell us that we don't know what hot really is. But I think that, and they're right in some respects, because it is very cold here most of the year. But in fairness, in defence of us British, the problem with when it gets really hot in Britain is that it's so humid, isn't it? We've got no wind coming in off the sea to sort of cool it down. It becomes very stifling, and that's what drives us all slightly nuts, I think.
It's we've had visitors over who've said, it's how do you cope with this? It's a different kind of heat. That's the problem, and obviously,
it's like being baked.
Our homes don't have air conditioning. Whereas, in America and other places, they do. So we haven't got that luxury either. But yeah, that could have been summer. That we just don't know.
They're pulling the plug. I'll tell you what, I did want to pull the plug on. I was thinking of you actually when I saw this. We talk about getting back to nature. This is the site. This is the first time I've spoken to you since they held the Nuremberg Festival. I mean, the Glastonbury Festival, of course, this year. Yes, the Glastonbury Festival, cringe-inducing bastion now of the middle classes, nothing remotely connected to how it used to be. But when I saw this coverage sort of kick off, obviously I had no intention of watching any of this sort of nauseating spectacle, not least of all because it's all on the BBC. But one thing that did sort of make my radar and made me think of you was this story. A Doctor Who icon, Peter Capaldi, joins Franz Ferdinand on Glastonbury 2025 stage in epic set. The Scottish actor made a surprise appearance on the Pyramid stage with the iconic band. Firstly, is everybody an icon now? Icon Peter Capaldi. Okay, yeah, we're Doctor Who fans, yeah. But Franz Ferdinand, iconic too. Are Franz Ferdinand an iconic band?
I don't know. They used to be, then they disappeared for a bit, and then they've had a couple of revivals. They keep reinventing themselves. Okay. I came back across them earlier this year. They were doing a big concert for Amazon, and I thought, they're still going, brilliant, because I used to really like them. I've seen them a couple of times.
I can think of 2 tracks by them, but maybe I'm just the wrong age, I suppose. I think I'm the wrong age, I'm the wrong demographic in every way for the Glastonbury Festival, except in the respect that I'm a massive fan, or a reasonably massive fan of Peter Capaldi. And I've watched this video of him strutting around on stage with Franz Ferdinand. And, it's the least cringe-inducing thing I've seen from the Glastonbury Festival this year. That's the best thing I can say about it. Peter Capaldi looks like he's having a blast. I'm not entirely convinced. I mean, there's a big roar from the audience when he comes on, isn't there? Have you watched the full thing?
I have watched the full thing. I was away at the time, but it was on the TV where we were staying. I mean, it looks amazing. And the way he just comes on and just owns the stage, it just looks cool. And isn't it weird how he just evokes the Doctor? I'm immediately transported back to The Magician's Apprentice. It's like he's never left. He's not aged. He looks the same. It looks cool. I'm like, oh, it's the Doctor. I didn't see Peter. I just saw the Doctor. I thought, well, that was very telling, considering it's been 8 years now. But yeah, I think he looked better than he sang, or maybe he just didn't have the right.
Well, let's be honest.
Maybe it wasn't the right song. It's a shouty song. To be fair.
I think if we're being completely fair, Peter Capaldi can't bloody sing. I think that's the truth of the matter. But he can perform, which is a large part of it, I think. And you're quite right. I mean, he does look very much like the 12th Doctor still in those shades with the slim-fitted suit. I think the shirt is buttoned right to the top too. So that is as if we're catching up almost. Catching up with the 12th Doctor. Peter Capaldi, I did wonder whether he was going to be there to do some of his own tunes. His second album came out recently. You'd think he'd look a bit happier about it, wouldn't you? This is a publicity picture for Peter Capaldi's recently released album. I've got to be honest, I haven't had the heart to listen to this. So that's the cover artwork. I did hear some of his first album from a couple of years ago, and it was very Leonard Cohen, I suppose. It's just not my thing. I'm under the impression that it was a long-held ambition of Capaldi's to return to music and for something slightly more personal as well. You know, he's been very vocal, hasn't he, in the past about his love of David Bowie and people like that. And the figure that he cuts is kind of Bowie-esque. He does look like a man who's sort of cosplaying.
I mean, it's lovely because, you know, he's got this ambition. That's what he wants to do. He's in a position where he can do, you know, he's got the opportunity, he's got the time, he's got the money. So yes, good luck to him. I have listened to his stuff. It's not really my thing. But there's plenty of people like. I mean, there is an audience.
It's not melodious, is it?
No. But I've got terrible taste in music, and I'm mainly poppy and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, no, I'm proud. I'm really happy for him, and that, you know, he's doing something that he wants to do.
I do like this picture of him here with a giant shower curtain behind him. Wonderful stuff. Yeah, Peter Capaldi, a musician before he was an actor. Here he is with the Dream Boys on their world tour back in 1979 of Glasgow Art School and the Queen Margaret Student Union before heading off to Wembley Stadium and Madison Square Garden. So that's a very playful sort of poster I found there for Peter Capaldi's original band. That was even, I think that was even before Craig Ferguson joined. His long-term friend, Craig Ferguson, the comedian and talk show host over in America all that time. So, yeah, this is something we fans talk about quite a lot. And there are pictures everywhere as well. Here they are performing, heaven knows where, Peter Capaldi in a tank top, and there's Craig Ferguson at the back on the drums. I mean, this is wonderful.
It is. It's so lovely to see.
You ever heard any of the Dream Boys tunes?
A couple. I think I went and found them. Look at that hair. Yeah, I think when I decided I liked his Doctor, then obviously went and found all the interviews that he'd done with Craig Ferguson, and that revelation that, you know, they'd played music together. I do recall going down like a YouTube rabbit hole. I lost hours of my day, but it was worth it.
Yeah,
very much worth
easy
it.
Done. I mean, it comes. I think it was only a couple of years after that he was in the film, the Bill Forsyth movie, Local Hero, and I think he probably always acted, and so that was probably a two lanes that he was travelling down at the same time, and it was a case of which one would take over, would be his long-term pathway, I suppose. They crossed over completely for this. I mean, you can tell when this was, because that's very much the Flock of Seagulls haircut there.
Yes.
I'm sure Simon Horn will be nodding, yes, it is the Flock of Seagulls haircut. This is from an appearance on Crown Court, which I'd say has to be 81, 82, so a couple of years after the Dream Boys thing. But what a fascinating man. When you start to sort of dig into Peter Capaldi's life and his work. An artist as well.
Yeah. I used to love seeing all the fan art he used to do at conventions and things. And he was a director as well. He's had a very fortunate career. But what I like about him is he's still quite humble about it, because there was a time where I think he was out of work as an actor, and did he do like a dog food advert or something? I seem to remember
several adverts, because we played them on the live stream.
So he's, you know, he doesn't. I don't think he takes anything for granted. I think he's just really happy that he's had the breaks that he's had. But he's always interesting to listen to. He's always interesting to look at, which I think an actor should be, a performer. You know, if you're not interesting to look at, you're not really doing it right, are you?
I suppose not.
Look at that green.
Exactly. This is why I feel that as much as I've found the whole sort of Glastonbury thing nauseating, and I very much doubt Franz Ferdinand's credentials as some sort of iconic band, I couldn't begrudge this man who's brought me a lot of pleasure over the years. I've always enjoyed his acting, and there he is living a bit of the dream. You can see that smile says, "My God, that was cool. I never thought I'd get to do that, and did I get away with it?"
Definitely. Well, be interested to know what his daughter thinks, whether she's still kind of like, "Oh my God, Dad, what are you doing?"
Because he's a granddad now as well, isn't he?
Yeah. You guys can't imagine it, yeah. How cool is that kid going to be there? Doctor Who's your granddad. Wow.
But he's the rock and roll doctor, wasn't he? From
Yes.
2014 through to 2017. It seems like such a long time ago now. And
It was a long time ago. God. And what's really funny is though, when I first watched The Magician's Apprentice, I hated this scene. I was like, what are you doing? It took a long time for me to, get what was happening. There was that kind of transition period where I feel like he was still writing for Matt's Doctor, like a lot of the comedy and things, and it just wasn't quite gelling.
Matt Smith is one of various Doctor Who actors who've been in music videos. He was in an Oasis video, wasn't he, about 10 years ago? Or was it? Could have been an Noel Gallagher video. I know they're friends, aren't they? They're really good mates. So I can't remember. Whether it was one of the later Oasis tracks?
Do you remember Matt Smith being at Glastonbury?
Yeah, I think
when he
he's been there a couple of times.
2010. Orbital did the Doctor Who theme. Now that was iconic. And obviously the world was a different place in 2010 as well.
Yes, so that's Peter Capaldi there on stage at Glastonbury. Something he'll remember for the rest of his life. I'm not sure the people in the crowd will. They look pretty far gone, but no, it isn't. It's an amusing video, and I think that was on the Friday. They probably should, with the benefit of hindsight, they probably should have packed in then, shouldn't they? Given what happened afterwards.
Yes.
But well done, Peter. I don't begrudge him that for a single moment.
Like I say, it did. I had the biggest smile on my face watching him do that. So yeah, good for you, Peter.
He wants to put a smile on my face since we last spoke as well. I watched episode 1 of Detectives, and you know what? This is the kind of TV that I can find a little bit sleepy. But you'd kind of sold me on it. I was already kind of interested because of what Gary Akers had said and the fact that I do like Stephen Moy. I've always liked this guy. But it was your enthusiasm for it that made me make a point of tracking it down. And so I watched episode 1, and yeah, it was really, really good, really enjoyable. And you're quite right. Stephen Moyer there in his duffel coat and his sort of woolen tank top got some very definite Doctor's figure. Reminded me of Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, but just obviously a bit more chiseled and cool. But this was a lot of fun, and the sidekick character, she's great as well. She's not anywhere near as easy on the eye as Mandem Gill, no, but the character, you're quite right, is a lot more rounded, more convincing. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. It turns out the 6 in the series, and I think this is the kind of thing where if Doctor Who fans sort of find out about it, they may well sort of latch onto it because the character is so similar.
It really is, and well, I think it's already got a second series.
Is it?
Or the commissioning one, so it seems to be doing well. Yeah, I just thought it was really engaging, and yeah, it's not slick. We're not talking CSI or anything like that. It's interesting you said sleepy. It kind of gave me like Midsummer Murders kind of vibe. It's very, there's nothing graphic. It's quite gentle for a murder investigation series.
Very, very gentle. Very Midsummer Murders. From what I've seen of Death in Paradise, it's kind of similar to that as well. It's got that kind of vibe of Father Brown, those sort of mid-afternoon dramas. Another thing I noticed being a Doctor Who fan, of course, was when the credits started to appear, who are the Doctor Who actors that are in this. It's just episode 1. I
Yeah.
spotted immediately before he'd even appeared on screen the actor Christopher Villiers, who was in this first episode. He was sort of the lord of a stately home, wasn't he? Who was
Yes.
trying to sort of bring together a collection of paintings of all his ancestors. And I immediately recognized the name. So this is him in Doctor Who there as a much younger man playing Hugh Fitzwilliam in The King's Demons. What a favourite story of mine. But it's a Peter Davison story, so they're all favourite stories of mine.
Yeah.
And I recognise the name because it's very distinctive. And his voice as well has got that same kind of ring to it, this sort of indignation about him. But it turns out I'd forgotten he was in it later as well. He was in Mummy on the Orient Express. He played this character here, Professor Morehouse, I think it was.
Yeah, that's the yeah. I'd not picked up on him being in The King's Demons, but yeah, I recognised his face from this one. Again, this is another favourite.
He seems to be the kind of actor that specialises in these very sort of outraged parts.
Pompous, yes.
Pompous, flared nostrils, pumped up chests, all that kind of thing. Whether it was 1983 in The King's Demons or in this episode of Art Detective, but it was a lot of fun. It was a bit of a caper. The characters were larger than life, and thank you for recommending it to me.
Harry will be delighted. He'll be, punching the air.
I'm looking forward to the next one. Seeing how obviously there's only 6 in this season, but if it's coming back for some more, maybe they'll make 10 in the next batch. I don't know, because I think a similar thing happened with Death in Paradise. That started quite modestly, didn't it? And they kind of built it up over time. One of the things I like about Art Detectives is that it did feel a little cliched, but they were reveling in those cliches. Because I'll say this for it, one of the reasons why I don't watch much detective TV generally, and I prefer sci-fi stuff, is because when I watch detective dramas, more often than not, and bear in mind I'm no expert in this by a long chalk, I can usually spot who's the murderer within 5 minutes without sitting there thinking, just think, oh well, it's him. Oh, it's that Mardy woman in the back. It's like that. But with this, I genuinely was surprised who the killer turned out to be. So that's a rare thing. So that alone means I'm definitely going to watch more.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose there's only so many tropes and things, and there's that many detective shows out there, and they all do kind of riff.
One of the reasons why I think it would be of interest to Doctor Who fans is because it's that main character. I wouldn't go so far as to say that when he's not on screen it feels flat, but he is fascinating. You cannot take your eyes off him, listening to everything he says. Stephen Moyer has always been very charismatic, and he doesn't drop the ball with this at all. I'm going to look into it a little deeper, because it wouldn't surprise me if there's some Doctor Who fans' fingerprints aren't all over this. But this kind of TV usually, it's not something I would go out of my way to watch, but I really enjoyed that. I'm going to be watching the whole of the first season. Absolutely. That's Art Detectives from Acorn TV. But shows like that are often set around localities, aren't they? Let's say Midsummer Murders is all set in the one place. Death in Paradise is set in the one place, and the same with the spin-off shows. That's very much the appeal. And that got me thinking about if you could do that with Doctor Who and in Doctor Who lore. I think there probably is one place, Sarah, that you could set a home counties mid-afternoon detective show on Acorn TV in, and it would almost certainly be Oldbourne in Wiltshire. It seems to tick all the boxes, doesn't it?
Yes, the perfect place.
Of course, we're talking about the location for the filming of The Demons all the way back in 1970 with John Pertwee, Katie Manning, John Levine, and Damaris Heyman there. I'm not a Pertwee guy, you know that. But even I think that The Demons is a seminal Doctor Who story. And Oldbourne was obviously the location. People talk about it all the time. Doctor Who fans have been making treks there for literally decades, Sarah. to get that kind of Devil's End vibe, I suppose. Now, I've been invited on several trips there, on coach trips and things like that, or to car share down there, but I've never been able to make it, or never felt so inclined to make it, not being the big Pertwee fan. But I understand that you recently just turned up there, didn't you?
Yes, by accident. Well, it wasn't by accident. I was away with my lovely husband Chris, and we were on the way back, and I noticed the sign said Aldbourne, a couple of miles away. And I thought, why do I know the name of that village? What's there?
Yeah.
So I did a quick Google search, realised it was the location for Devil's End. And I jumped in the car like, Chris, we've got to go while we're here. It's only a couple of miles away. So yeah, so I dragged poor Chris, who is only a casual Doctor Who fan. He has seen this one, so you know, it wasn't a wasted journey. Yeah, I dragged him to Devil's End for the afternoon, and it was wonderful, Dan. I think you would enjoy it. I think you once you're there and you see that it's just not changed.
Yeah.
Apart from, you know, broadband and newer cars, that's literally the only thing. It's like the nostalgia. Oh, it just hits you like it's almost like the village that time forgot.
Really?
Everything's just so preserved, and it sounds really obvious, but
cottages and bicycles and things like that.
It looks the same. Like you're walking around, you're like, it's exactly how it is on screen. Yeah, there's not really many places like that now. You know, not even in Wales. You know, they've done a lot to the set and everything to like dress it up and things.
Why should I not be surprised that you started your trek around Aldbourne in the pub? So where was this? Where was this back?
So this is in the Blue Boar, which was the pub that was the Cloven Hoof in the episode. Gotcha. And as you can see, this is inside. This is opposite the toilets and the kitchen area. They are really proud that, you know, they were part of Doctor Who history. So this is part of a like mural on the wall. You can just make out a little bit of Bessie there. It just made me so happy, Dan. It's real. I got really giddy.
Well, you've been good enough to send. You've been good enough to send ahead plenty of pictures here for us to take a look at. So this is. Oh, look at that! Look how evocative that is. That's the actual. Beautiful. That's the actual churchyard.
Yeah. So this is St. Michael's Church. So this is behind the church. So I thought. So I took this because I thought, well, this is a angle that you don't see in the episode. But yeah, and it's set back quite a bit as well. And I mean, look, it's just the perfect setting. You can just imagine Bok running around there and the master just coming out of the door. It's all there for you.
I like how you've got. It looks like it was a nice day, but those clouds, they look like they're full of rain, that they're about to drench you at any moment. So you kind of got the best of both worlds there. Because if it had been a blisteringly hot day, it might not have been so atmospheric.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it would have been too hot for me to really explode and enjoyed it. But yeah, it just looks so dramatic.
There you are doing a spot of exploration. Is this the church itself?
Yes, this is the main entrance. Now I'm just laughing at my stripy tee. I look like Where's Wally, don't I? There's going to be quite just blue. Yes, there's going to be quite a few of these. Just me in my stripy t-shirt. Unfortunately, it was closed. There'd been a service that morning. It was a Sunday then we went.
Yeah.
There'd been a service that morning, but unfortunately, I couldn't go in. But obviously, it would have been very different to what was seen, because obviously that was in the studio, wasn't it? As soon as you go into the doors and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice. I would like to go back and see inside. just to say that I've been inside. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful looking church as well.
It's been preserved sensitively without losing any of its character, or
Yes.
that feeling that you're walking back into history a little.
Only sign of modern life, is the road signs and the notice board. You easily just take them away, and that could be any time.
These little pathways and things running around the outside, I suppose. Do they go around the outside of the whole church, Sarah?
Yes, so you can do a big loop, and that takes you to the churchyard. But yeah, there were all kinds of like little doors and things.
Because obviously in more built-up areas, like certainly around by me, there are churches, they're relatively old, so churches and chapels and things like that, but most of them have been modernised to some degree or another. Like they've, whatever old world-style walls that would have been dividing anywhere or keeping the road from the pavement would have been taken down and new walls been built that look very modern and horrible. And it's the same with pathways as well. Things like this would have been sort of ripped up. I can see the practicalities in that, but they don't look as... Obviously, things like that don't look as historic, do they? And there's no bins to put your dog poo in and things like that, which you don't get me wrong, I'm all for scooping poop, but it does rob an area of its sort of historic appeal, I think, when you've got to put that sort of stuff in.
I could just imagine, being a kid again, if you'd seen that story and just running up and down pretending that Bock was chasing you or the master was coming down that path. Or obviously I thought that maybe some of the surrounding area that was like set design, and they were just props. I mean, there's that big tomb in front of the church where when Bock comes out, and I thought, wow, well that's got to be just a prop. But no, it's actually there. Everything's there. These were big scenes that they were doing. But then they were obviously entrusted, to carry them out here and not damage anything. But yeah, you kind of like, wow, I can't believe, they got away with firing bazookas and things. I mean, this full scale battle scene just in front of this church.
I understand that some of the locals that live there have always lived there and were there in 1970 when the Demons was being filmed. And this entire children who were at school then, who would have met John Pertwee and Katie Manning, still live there as well, and still talk to visiting Doctor Who fans about it. So it does seem like a pocket of Doctor Who history that should be in everybody's sort of bucket list, really. But like say you just realised you were in the general area and dived in.
Yeah, just purely accidental. It was only because I spotted this sign, and when we were good there a good 3.5 hours. Obviously the church, there's the village green, the pub. I was like a kid in a sweet shop.
So you're stood there on the steps, and you're about average height. Are you about 5'4" or something like that?
I'm 5 foot, just.
Yeah. I think, well, looking next to that house, I think, okay, those houses must be actually quite small because they're obviously in the foreground and you're in the background. Your average height. You think, well, they're almost like cottages rather than.
Yeah, they're really small. A lot of cottages. But again, it all just adds character. It's like when you imagine like the traditional English chocolate box countryside village. This is it. It really is.
Very much so. I do wonder how much footfall they get from Doctor Who fans. It does look like they're leaning into it though, with the Cloven Hoof pub sign. Was this actually at the pub itself?
Yeah, so this was outside. So there were some tables outside, and it's just there like a big sandwich board. So they're really leaning into it. Yeah, I believe there's coach trips that come, like you were saying. There are events there, proper fan events. I think Katie Manning goes, and John Levine, Nicola Bryant goes.
Just imagine that you're there for. They're probably, how long would they have been there filming The Demons? Probably about 2 to 3 weeks at the very most. 50 odd years ago, and there's Katie Manning and John Levine still regularly making treks to Aldbourne to celebrate something that was made and broadcast for all intents and purposes. It was meant to be a kind of a one and done thing of a show that was the height of mainstream television, and I think it viewed as kind of disposable as well. And yet, all these decades on, still there's this sort of miniature tourist spot that appeared because of loonies like us.
Yeah, and again, they seem to be so welcoming. I mean, there's a village sign and there's like a little map and it shows you where things are. And there's actual walks. You can go to the Devil's Hump. So the barrows they're not far away. I think a mile or so away from the church, maybe a couple of miles. And there's 4 of them. I think it's the second one that was used for the Devil's Hump. So yeah, they actively encouraged, us noticed to go and find it.
There's this print here. I've just noticed it actually says on this print, "Home of the Devil's Hump." For further information, please contact the Wiltshire Tourist Board. And there's Bessie on the village green there all the way back in 1970. So they are owning it, I think is the expression, owning it.
There was a group of New Yorkers, but they'd come. They weren't Doctor Who fans. I did check. Aldbourne's also famous for the Band of Brothers. So there was a regiment, I think it were paratroopers from America. They came and they stayed and they trained there. I think for about 9 months. Before D-Day.
In that local area.
Yeah. So on one side of the wall was all the Doctor Who stuff that I was taking photos of. The other side of the wall was all stuff to do with D-Day, and this particular section. So I think there's been archaeological digs and things as well. So so there's many American families, veterans, who again hold this place in their hearts for completely different reasons. It's just weird that we've got this kind of crossover.
Yeah.
But they're also famous for making bells, the church bells, school bells. So there's all that kind of history kind of side. And then there's just this display at the back with all these photos of filming Doctor Who. It's just delightful. It's a real treasure trove, yeah.
With a red phone box, as you can get in B&M bargains.
You can, yeah. See, there's always a link. There's always a link.
So now you kind of have to buy both, really, if you're a big fan of the Pertwee era. For such a little area, Sarah, to be tied to 2 or 3 different things like that.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It really is, because it is such a tiny village. The Heritage Centre was run by this little old lady, and she was just brilliant. She was just talking to everyone. She wasn't fazed at all by this coach party of Americans. She was straight in there, and she was just lovely and chatty, very welcoming. And again, it's all kind of free. I mean, you can leave a donation, which I did because I just thought, this is just a wonderful place. I mean, if you're into your history, and you're into the war, it's you could have a full day out here, and you have something to eat at the pub, few drinks, I should be working for this Wiltshire Tourist Board. Obviously, I'm really selling this.
This is the larger mural you were talking about back in the pub, isn't it?
And that the police box door, that's the door into the kitchen. When I found out about when I leaned on it to try and take a picture, and then this poor waitress came out the other.
Oh, absolutely brilliant! No, I do love all this stuff
Yeah.
because there was a resistance for a long time towards sort of embracing connections with Doctor Who to various. I suppose when Doctor Who was out of fashion, out of relevance, when the public simply weren't aware of it. I think well, places that had been used in its history, either as locations or places of more practical significance to the show's past, were happy to put as much distance between the series and them as they could, as seemed befitting. But then Doctor Who went and came back and inconvenienced everybody.
Yeah. And people thought, oh, we can make some money here.
I do. I think this is absolutely wonderful. We've got what's this? Oh, that's the other side to it, is it?
Poster on the right, that's signed by John Levine and all the usual suspects. You've got filming pictures there. You can just see Bessie. The picture at the bottom, I think that's the Return to Devil's End documentary thing.
Real-time pictures documentary.
Yeah, that's the one with Nick Briggs on there, Mark. As a couple of other faces that look very familiar.
Yeah. Roger Delgado played the Master, says the sign underneath this fabulous image of Roger Delgado in Peter Capaldi's glasses that he would later wear at Glastonbury.
Again, we've got, and who would think we'd planned this, Dan? But yeah, I love. Yeah, I was trying to get a close up of this picture. I just love this image of Roger. It just, there's not many men can pull off demonic robes and shades, but Roger can.
When you see pictures like this, and we see John Pertwee and Katie Manning out filming and meeting the fans, both of them in their sunglasses as well. These are pictures that we've seen over and over again as Doctor Who fans. There can't be too many classic Doctor Who locations that are largely unspoilt now, can there? After anywhere between 35 and say certainly over 50 years, not much of the black and white stuff was filmed. Was it on location as such before, say, the War Machine, something like that? So it was largely a 70s and 80s thing. But when you look at various locations from 80s stories, McCoy stories, a lot of them have changed really quite drastically. And then there's Oldbourne looking not that different.
Yeah, I was astounded, really. But I've been told that the village where they did the android invasion, that's probably about as close as you can kind of get.
Oh, okay.
To this, so maybe I'll go there now. I'll do next. I'll do a series. I did have to laugh at myself. Like I'm taking a picture of a bin. You don't have to, but I'm a Doctor Who fan. You kind of have to.
It's great. It really is. I could order a couple of these for my area.
That somebody's custom built this.
And so you were there snapping pictures of rubbish bins and things like that. Unsurprisingly, you made contact, didn't you, with another Doctor Who fan? So who's this gentleman?
So this is Rob Valentine from Big Finish.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea who he was. I'm not a big Finish listener. So to me, this lovely chap was just some bloke who was patiently waiting for me to stop taking pictures of the cloven hoof sign. And it wasn't a very flattering. I was, to get the close up. So I was squatting down. So glamorous. I'll just set the scene for you. So I'm squatting down trying to get in the camera, and I just sensed that there's somebody behind me. Chris had gone into the pub to get drinks. I realised I was taking quite a long time, so I was apologising. I'm so sorry. He's like, oh no, it's fine. I've just realised I've not taken a picture, and it's all part of the pilgrimage. And I thought, you're a Doctor Who fan, clearly. So we just got talking about Doctor Who and the demons and this and that, and he just casually mentioned, "Oh, I do Doctor Who as part of my job."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then he said, "Yeah, I write for Big Finish." And I thought, "Oh wow!" And you're here at the same time, so I thought, well, I've got to take a picture, from my friends who are Big Finish, listeners. That they'll be delighted that I've bumped into you. And yeah, and he was absolutely lovely. He was very generous with his time. He was there with some friends, and he was just at the pub. And a similar thing, he was in the area meeting friends. He just managed to come at the same time, and he had been up to the Devil's Hump, so he was telling me about that.
Yeah.
I'd been to the Heritage Centre, he'd not found that yet. So we were just having a really good geek out, comparing things, and we were looking up the lane, like trying to figure out which cottage was Miss Hawthorne's house and which one, where would they have been stood and where did they come down. It was just brilliant. It was the icing on the cake to bump into another Doctor Who fan there, because it made such a good impression on me. I'm like, I'm going to have to listen to your stuff now. But I was very apologetic. I said, like, I've got to be honest, Rob, I've not listened to your stuff. I'm sure you're great. But yeah, he was like, oh, there's so much out there. Don't. He was fine. He wasn't affronted at all. He was really lovely, really fun, and yet, but yeah, we were both just big kids. We're like, I just can't believe we're here at Devil's End. So thank you, Rob. Thank you to Chris for taking me, for agreeing to go, and just being the most patient, understanding person. There he is. Bless him. But I mean, but he had a good time. He was sat there with his pint, and we're overlooking the green, and he's going, "How did they get a helicopter there? Because the green really isn't very big at all." And he was just fascinated, like, how did they get the trucks, with all the equipment on? How did they get it down these lanes? And so he was fascinated just from, that kind of perspective.
Because it is extraordinary. I found this with various Doctor Who places that I've been to now, or anywhere that's connected with sort of film and TV, like Portmeirion, where one of my favourite TV series, The Prisoner, was made, and where the Mask of Mandragora was partly filmed. And that is also far smaller than it looks on screen. And they call it movie magic, don't they? I know that Doctor Who is hardly a big budget movie, but it's still the work of professionals, of craftspeople, to make things look not necessarily bigger, always bigger than they actually are, but to treat each location, I suppose, as kind of a working part, as a living and breathing prop, I guess, that you can, using the camera, using the actors, change the atmosphere of something, including the scale, the various scales of things in relation to it.
Well, in all the eras, but I think particularly the 70s, it's phenomenal. And I think this era, the Pertwee era, it benefited so much from all that location filming. It did make, I was watching the Sea Devils the other day, and I just think, if that had just been purely studio based, it wouldn't have had half the impact as it did. I mean, again, it gives this illusion that it's big budget. The BBC are pouring all this money into it. No, they're not, but we'll give that illusion that they are. There's just something about John Pertwee being outdoors in the location.
Are there any drawbacks to visiting Aldbourne? I mean, this hasn't broken the spell of the story in any way for you.
No, because it just looks like it does on the screen. You can just imagine, the Morris dancers just randomly turn it. It wouldn't look out of context, out of place. If there wasn't these displays and the love, and the Heritage Centre and things, if it was just like, oh, welcome to Aldbourne, oh, by the way, they filmed some 70s sci-fi show. I've been to other places. It's not held the same kind of magic as this has, but this was just like going back in time. And I think the only thing that could have been better is if I'd have been a little girl watching the demons and then seeing it. Unfortunately, I was an adult when I discovered Doctor Who. I think that's the only thing that could have made it better. I kind of think, we got the perfect weather, we got the perfect company. But I probably will end up going back. But it was nice to explore at my own pace. I know that these events, they sound really cool. And there is something about seeing Katie Manning and John Levine there in that location. But then you get, then there's that thing of, there's too many people and you can't get and have a good look, or you're on a strict timetable, and I prefer to kind of explore at my own leisure.
Results are going to vary on that, aren't they? It depends on the kind of fan that you are. I suppose you could
I'm
say.
that kind of fan, and I'm proud. I'm happy to be a geek.
So where are you going next? Have you got a sort of bingo card of places that you want to go to?
Probably the Android Invasion Village. I might try and do that. I can't remember where it is. I don't think it's that far away. I think
because they tended to be. I think they were within like a 30-mile radius of
where. Yeah, it's not far. But isn't it lovely though? There's no Doctor Who on the telly at the moment, but there's still all these lovely Doctor Who events and things. Carry on.
Yeah, the cupboard may look somewhat empty, and the word is still pause, isn't it, as of time of recording? But it's not the end of the world. No, you're quite right.
Oh no, to me, it's not the end of anything. It's I'm certainly not pressing pause. I think there's so much out there. Whether that's classic or new. I suppose we can't really call it New Who anymore. It's not old New Who.
Yeah. I think New Who is what they're sort of sticking with. Another nice ramble through the Whoniverse. Sarah, in your company, thank you again for sharing those pictures with us, because obviously that was a nice family day out for you, and
thank you for letting me show them. And I've got to show them somebody. I can't go around to my rest of my relatives. They'd be bored silly. So I know people will appreciate it, and maybe I've inspired people to go and visit for themselves, or just give the demons another rewatch. Why not? It's a brilliant story.
Couldn't agree more. And you know me, as I say, I'm not the biggest Pertwee fan in the world, but even I love the demons. Seminal Doctor Who. Thank you again. Thank you again, Sarah. Just time to recommend more of us and more classic Doctor Who. If you haven't caught this yet, the latest edition of the Type 40 Doctor Who podcast is now available. That's our long form review of the classic story, The Time Meddler. None of that was filmed on location, wasn't it? It was all in the studio, as I remember. So nowhere to track down, but still a riot across those 4 episodes.
And and happy 60th birthday to Stephen Taylor, of course.
There you go. We timed it deliberately. Of course we did. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. So you get the latest Type 40 Doctor Who podcast across all major podcatchers, or you're here on the Type 40 YouTube and Rumble channels. As always, wherever we're going to go next, that's for us to know and you to find out. So make sure you're subscribed. Sarah, thanks for the catch up. Thanks for your time. We'll probably do this again at some point in the near future. See what the punters have got to say.
Yeah, and they might be sick of the sight of me by the end of this week. But we'll see. If you want more, then yes, we will do more. I'm sure we'll find something else to ramble about.
To gas on about. Well, I think that as the nature of sort of what is current in the Whoniverse is changing, and it's kind of reverting back to its other form, where it's the things that are happening on Blu-ray or repeat broadcasts or books or in the fandom, then so our coverage will also sort of flip between 2 or 3 different settings, and that's, to me, that's one of the things that keeps me engaged in talking about it, as well as the people I talk about it with, all of you. The bird feeder story is only just beginning, I feel. If you've been to B&M and you've picked up one of them, just like Dave has, let us know. Send us a picture. Tag us on the social media platform of your choice as well. We'll get some together. See if we can get an army of bird feeders to rise up from certainly the British countryside, and show us how you get on as well, whether it does attract our feathered friends, what do they make of it? Many of them are going to be Doctor Who fans, but they may, I don't know, they may like it. They may be attracted to the blue rather than the red. Let us know how you get on with all of that. Yeah. And if you're a regular visitor to Aldbourne, maybe you live in Aldbourne and you just wish that we'd all sod off, then that's fine too. Let us know in the comments. Tell us where we should be going instead. But your anecdotes from Aldbourne, those would be appreciated in the comments section as well. And that wraps it up for another one, I think. More podcasts and live streams on the way. Sarah, you'll be pleased to know.
Yay!
But that's it for this edition of Type 40 Extra. Hit us up if you've gone and watched Art Detectives there, just like Sarah and Gary suggested. Let us know what you think of that as well. And what about the Peter Capaldi cameo appearance on stage at Glastonbury a week and a half ago now? Were you watching when that was being streamed live to whatever BBC's sort of outlet it was? I know. And what do you think about the BBC's coverage of Glastonbury? How can they justify spending all of that money, sending all of those people when they claim that they haven't got a pot to piss in? Let us know there in the comment section, and we'll be back with some more any day now. We always have the time if you have the space, extra space for Type 40. Sarah, thanks again. Great conversations, fabulous pictures. Let us know what you think of them as well. Get back to us both. See you later.
Bye.